Good morning, Rockingham, and welcome to the feed. It's Mike Smith and Marty Gallagher. Today our guests are Alain Martinez and Elijah Zimmer from Keep Bellows Falls Beautiful. And so we're going to be talking about that. But first, Marty has local events.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that Classic Movie Night is back at the Bellows Falls Opera House. This week it's Gone with the Wind, and it's sponsored by Village Booksellers. Next week, the 11th, is Smokey and the Bandit, sponsored by Those Hadley Cats, who I think might have something to do with Charlie Hunter.
Oh.
I'm not sure, but I think that's the connection. On August 18th, Grease, sponsored by Edward Jones and Bill Stevens. And then on the 25th is Little Women, and that's sponsored by Village Square Booksellers. So Classic Movie Night's back, triple ups, $6 for admission. Make sure you check it out. Classic Movie Night was used to be a huge hit. And then Main Street Arts has I think it's the last in their series of picnics with Main Street Arts on Sunday afternoons. And this Sunday afternoon it's going to be the Milk House Heaters, which is a local group. It's Jan and Mike Sheehy. They do great music, so make sure you show up.
Yeah, and they've been doing this free too. It's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And have they been using the amphitheater?
Yeah, they're doing it outside if it's not raining, and if in case of rain, they do it inside.
Yeah.
So
It's a there's
great
so
venue.
much fun things happening here.
And then we wanted to mention the area-wide plan that's happening on the 12th of August this year. And Elijah, you brought it up, but exactly what is the area-wide plan about? Is it putting together is it for the planning commission or is it like the town plan?
So it's long-term planning for the area around the island and the historic grist mill. It's figuring out what we want that area to be, how we want to redevelop and reuse that area to make the best use. So it's just gathering input from the community to see what direction people want us to move in on that.
And I was in on one of the earlier meetings that they had. It was like, I think that was more for like local businesses and folks in town. And there were so many really good ideas discussed. And one of the ideas is there's a lot of land like past the railroad tracks that borders the river, and talking about developing that land for like a river walk, which would be, kind of utilizing that space and then, then connecting all the spaces together and having this great use of, have people be able to do the river walk and then have maybe a restaurant down there or go into downtown for eating. And so there's some really, really good ideas on the table. So I would highly recommend if you have ideas, then show up to the meeting.
Yeah, there's some great
Do we know where it's going to
possibilities.
be?
It will be held in the town hall.
Okay.
There will also be a Zoom link that people can participate with as well. If you check back to the municipal website shortly, they will be posting all the information on there with the time and the Zoom link.
That's great.
So that should be getting up fairly soon.
So, Keep Bellows Falls Beautiful. I don't know if people are on Facebook or not, but Elijah, who's a relatively new government representative here in Bellows Falls, has been posting pictures of Bellows Falls on Facebook that are just phenomenal. And
Thank you.
Show sides of Bellows Falls that are really beautiful, really nice to see. And I think, is this an outcropping of that? Or tell us about Keep Bellows Falls Beautiful.
So it's through the Bellows Falls Downtown Development Alliance, and we've been doing a monthly event to get together a few volunteers to take on small projects throughout the downtown to just clean things up and make little improvements. And it's just a way to get people together to socialize, outdoors, and feel that they're taking part in doing something good for the community, and just inspiring community pride.
And yeah, they're showing some pictures right now of some of the events that you've done. And one of the pictures I pulled off your website I thought really summed it up is the thorax. And it says, and I don't have my glasses, so I'm going to have to squint at it. Unless someone like you, who cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get done. Nothing is going to get better. It's not. It kind of, and I think I just, y'all can read it. I think I just kind of mashed it. But it kind of sums up to me the idea that if you want something done, if you want to make things better, be a part of the solution, not complaining about it, not continuing to be part of the problem. There, I said it better than I did before. I said it a lot nicer than I did before. I said, shouldn't be bitching about it.
Yeah.
So, how do you decide what projects to do? Is it a group decision or?
Yeah, I think we talk about it as a group. I think it comes up in our conversation. Elijah and I are both part of a subcommittee of BIFTA, the design committee. So through organic conversation when we meet, it's kind of just come up with random areas we may see, if we get feedback with places or ideas that someone comes to us with, like, hey, why don't we tackle this? So it's really just about, attention to detail and looking at our beautiful historic downtown and seeing what we can do to improve it.
Yeah, and we're starting small, just a little bit at a time, but we hope that this will grow as we get more volunteers, more people, working together to do things in the community. So these are just little baby steps that we're taking, but big hopes for the future of how we can start, bringing this community together, and not just people that are living in the downtown or whatever, but the broader Rockingham community, building a strong sense of town-wide community, I think is very important.
Yeah, because there is a lot of pride here. There are many of us who, love living here and love our community. And I think that for anyone who does want a way to take action, look us up on Facebook. We do it once a month, and volunteers are always welcome.
Yeah. So, Alain, tell us a little bit about yourself, though. You moved here 5 years ago?
I did. I moved here 5 years ago. I fell in love with Bellows Falls. I can't tell you that it was, any type of pre-planning or premeditated. We came to Bellows Falls on a road trip and fell in love. And, fell in love with the community, the people, the downtown, the architecture. It's just a really magical place to live. I still feel that way. I really enjoy the community we have, and I really like the future that I see us heading towards.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's one of the things Marty and I talk about, because Marty is like the only native on the set. Let's just say it
On the
that.
set right now.
And then so many people move in, and myself included, is you come here and then it's like, I would really like to move here.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a similar thing that happened to me 40 years ago. Was we came and we saw, and it was like, well, this is the place we want to live and raise our children. And so it's interesting to me. I always like sharing with stories, because I know Charlie Hunter was the same thing. As he came up and saw the village and then said, well, I'm going to live here.
Yeah.
And I think Robert McBride, it was a similar
That
thing.
too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that have that similar experience to what you had. And they come and then they start adding to the community. And I think that's really
And I think
powerful thing.
it's interesting because having the perspective of having grown up here, you kind of take a lot of things for granted, and you see things with a certain mindset, and then it takes sometimes folks that are just coming here to remind you, like your picture. Some of your pictures, I was like, oh my God. Like you took a picture of the canal, I think the canal and the canal house. I was like, I've never seen the canal look so, I always thought the canal, but it was so I think it's really, that's my interesting perspective
Right.
on it,
Yeah.
is that when I see things through the eyes of folks that didn't grow up here and don't have, the history or whatever, you bring a fresh light to, we really have a lot going on in this town, a lot with the downtown community, a really vibrant community, and just the fact that you have started this little homegrown grassroots project, that's how things get done.
Yeah.
You start small, and I think and the other thing is you've connected with, so a lot of people in town do things in their little individual silos, but I think you have BIFTA and you have the chamber, and then you have like Rotary clubs or other clubs that do things. And I think you came to Rotary a few weeks ago. That's how I roped them into coming on the show. And you talked about like really having maybe some joint meetings, because we're all serving the same purpose of trying to build a community. So why don't we all work in unison versus all in our little silos?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
very true. I think we all have common goals. You know, we've all kind of been working independently, so it is nice, you know, I being a Rotarian with Marty, you know, that's when we have had the projects, you know, it's nice that some Rotarians come and we work together, and it's a group effort, and it creates community, which I think we need more of.
Yeah. And I feel like there's been more of that happening over the past year, just with people feeling, you know, isolated for so long. We realized that we want to interact more with our neighbors, and we're maybe looking, you know, inwards at our own community a little bit more instead of, you know, just always thinking of, you know, going outside the community for, you know, for those recreation experiences or whatever. I think there's been really a building of, you know, stronger feeling of community lately, and there's been a lot of good cooperation between some of these different organizations that maybe hadn't, you know, talked so much to each other before, but I think we have some people who are really, you know, working to bridge those gaps and, you know, thinking about us as being stronger together and not all in our own little, you know, our own little pod doing our own thing.
Definitely. And sometimes, you know, you're working in your own little pod, duplicating the same work.
Yeah.
As opposed to working together.
Yeah.
And then you can, instead of duplicating, you can actually get more done. So I think that's, you had talked about, Mike and I were talking a little bit about this before the show. I think you talked about murals on the stair side.
Yeah, we have a few artists in town who are interested in spearheading this project to create removable panels that would fit into the architectural panels of the sides of the stairs, and there would be different artists in the community who would volunteer to create beautiful murals on a rotating basis to install on the sides of the stairs. To create a, you know, public art installation, share the art with the community, brighten things up.
Because your building has an amazing mural on the side.
It does. You know, I feel very strongly about public art. You know, I think it brings a lot of culture to areas. It's free, it's interactive. It brings a lot of energy, you know, in business in a sense. People stop to look at it. It's appreciated, word of mouth. You know, that idea actually stemmed from a community member a few years ago. Most of you might remember, you know, someone took it upon themselves to do these beautiful chalk drawings, art on the stairwell. And they were really well received. I think a lot of people in the community really loved them. You know, some people didn't, but, you know, that's always
There's
the
always
case,
the
right?
case.
That's always the case.
That's always the case.
So yeah, you know, we are finalizing some of the details with an artist. There is a local artist who's kind of spearheading the idea and the cultivating of local artists and getting that information and that roster of people that are willing to donate and do the work. So that hopefully is something that's in the very near future.
Yeah, oh, that's great. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things, and I think it may be also related to the COVID and there seems to be a blossoming of local artists lately. I mean, more people are painting, more people are doing photography, and it's just really sort of exciting.
Yeah. I think the pandemic, with all its negativity, a positive side is that it forced everyone to slow down. And everyone found that they had time to pursue all these things that they maybe did not have, you know, previous, because you didn't have a lot to do. There weren't a lot of options. You couldn't go out. You couldn't do these things. So a lot of us had to become a little bit more self-sufficient and or explore areas of ourselves that we didn't have the opportunity to. So I agree. I think it's really nice to see all these newness flourishing out of it. Yeah.
So what did you discover?
I do a lot anyways. I discovered I didn't have enough time.
That's great.
So I know the burning question that the audience probably has is, and maybe you have an update or maybe you don't, when is Wunderbar going to open?
Yeah, that is the million
the
dollar
question.
question. So we are just waiting on one date. We're having part of our renovations is we had a total kitchen makeover. So with all of the updates, the hood, there's a small delay on getting all the parts and equipment for the hood. So as soon as we have that date, which should be, any day now. I mean, we were first quoted beginning to mid-August. So again, as soon as we have that date, we will announce it. I mean, we're hoping it to be end of August, early September, depending on whenever installation is.
Yeah, it's been crazy with lead
Any
times
sort
on
of
things.
construction or
Yeah.
parts and things like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, we started the renovations, over a year and a half ago, and it has been, the frustrations have been really just delay after delay. Everything from
Yeah.
lumber to equipment to metal to,
Well, I'm
But,
sure everyone will be like waiting,
Yeah.
waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, we're so excited now. You're going to have
Yeah,
all these customers.
We're very excited to be open, we are looking, enough is enough already,
Good for you.
Yeah.
So is there anything that is new on the select board, Elijah, that you want to talk about?
Well, we have been working to secure a lease with a solar company who's interested in leasing a section of the former gravel pit the town owns. So we'll be adding some renewable energy generation to the the local energy mix, which is really great. Really
great.
moving in a positive direction
Mm-hmm.
to start getting more green energy. So we have selected a solar company to lease that property, and we're just finalizing the lease agreement with them now.
Oh, wow.
It also adds some revenue to the town on property that was not being used. So it's a really positive thing.
Wow.
It's a good use for that land too,
Yeah.
because it's really off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for people who don't like solar, it's a good solar place because
Yeah.
it's like
It's
it's down,
completely
it's out of
hidden.
sight.
Yeah, it's out of sight.
and
Mhm.
it's not. You're not going to do anything else. I don't think with that
Mhm.
land.
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure if the gravel's all gone, but I imagine it is. And
Yeah, in that
Yeah.
area it is.
yeah, and so why not really put it to
Put it
work
to
for-
use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
and then
Good thought.
there's more of that land that will be opening up to development in the future. So possibly we might have the opportunity in the future to build a second solar installation on the rest of the property.
Nice, that's great. What was the final decision? I apologize for not having paid attention. I watched some of the meetings. What was the final decision on the bridges down to the Waypoint Center?
So we have gone with the decision to build a new off-alignment bridge, which will be running parallel to the existing railroad bridge. The old concrete bridge will be removed and replaced with a new prefabricated pedestrian bridge. And this will allow better traffic flow and circulation onto the island to encourage this future development that we're talking about. Looking long term, maybe not right now, but in future decades, this will really help open the island for development.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're creating this beautiful footbridge over the canal, which will really be an asset to have a dedicated pedestrian area, where people can just view the canal and have better pedestrian circulation to the Waypoint Center
Yeah.
and the railroad station
Yeah.
and the parking areas. So
I was really happy the vote went that way. Not because I know there was a lot of conflict, because a lot of people were really attached to the history of the original bridge, but I do opinion that the new bridge is looking towards the future. I think it will really help with the flow, of downtown to
Yeah.
the island. I think it'll bring a lot more energy to the island, which I think is important for
Yeah.
it to develop, which is a wonderful place to develop.
Yeah,
It's such an asset we have.
It is, and I going back to talking about the town plan, I mean, I think that's proactive to take that step.
Yeah.
To say, okay, let's look way decades future and make it so that if we can develop it, we can, and then we have good traffic flow going
Yeah,
in
I
versus
100% agree.
we stay with the status quo, we develop it, oops, we can't get,
Yeah,
we can't
yeah.
get the trucks down there,
Yeah.
we can't get things there, so I think that's very
Yeah,
proactive.
because we're looking at a structure that's going to be in place for at least 75 years.
Wow.
So we need to be thinking about not just what suits our current needs, but what suits the future. It's worth to make low investment now to have those future possibilities.
Yeah, and a footbridge, that's it. I mean, you can do so many things with a footbridge. You can make it like the, I know it's not a footbridge, but the bridge of flowers.
Oh, it's
down
beautiful.
in
I go,
Shelburne,
I
yeah.
visit there every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is a lot, that's an attraction in and of
In
itself.
itself, exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
pulls people. So I think that's very, very proactive.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
the select board.
And having the bridge on that other side too, even to go back to a point you made earlier, I think there's so much underdeveloped land there. Even over there where you said by the railroad, there we could have trails, we could have a bike system. Part of I think what draws a lot of tourism here is our outdoor, the beauty that we have, and there's so much again underutilized land there that could be developed into so many things. So it's exciting to see that this planning committee is talking and is being productive, about
Yeah.
ideas and sharing and culminating some things.
Mm-hmm.
Because up until the automobile area, the Bellows Falls was really it was centered on the river and the railroad. And because it was the narrow spot in the river that the
Yeah.
railroad could cross. And so there were a hotel, the Island Hotel was huge. I
It's
mean,
huge.
but
Yeah.
it burned in the
Yeah.
50s or 60s?
I'm not sure.
And
Yeah.
then there was the Star Hotel and the Wyndham Hotel they created a square that we no longer have.
Yeah.
And
I only know that because in my restaurant bar, Winter Bar, we painted a mural on the wall that is a historic, accurate rendering from an artist, way back when. And it's interesting to see what the island looked like, because like you said, it was a pretty,
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
people, I've heard of, it was Henry David Thoreau came
Yeah.
and stayed at the hotel and then
Yeah.
walked up to Table Rock, and all these things happened, but and I don't, we have cars, and that's a good thing. But the advent of the car and the closing of the Vilas Bridge really sort of has changed the focus in Bellows Falls to where it's not where it naturally was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, but hopefully as we
Conundrum.
go forward, though, we can start to make the island more of a powerhouse of, of the economy of Rockingham, the way that it used to be. Maybe, it's not going to be the same as it
Right.
was, but it's reinventing it for something for the 21st century.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But by changing the traffic pattern, you're going to do that
I
naturally.
think so, yeah.
I mean,
It's a
by
step,
creating
yeah.
it's just going to have to happen. It
Yeah.
will happen. It's
Naturally.
just, it's a phenomenon.
Organically, yeah.
Yeah. So we have about a minute and a half left. Do you guys want to do a call for volunteers for August 17th, and then
Yes.
say where you can be contacted?
So our next Keep BF Beautiful event is going to be on August 17th at 5:30 in the evening. We're going to be working on some, community projects in the downtown. Everybody can meet in front of the town hall, and probably going to be doing a lot of painting work, some weeding, general cleanup, but also just a lot of, discussion of, what future projects we want to work on. People can always just come just to talk to us, and give input. You don't even necessarily have to actually help with the work, but we really appreciate it if you can.
Yeah. Listen, even a cheerleader, even if you want to come and root us on, it's
Well, thank you guys for coming on today. It has been a total pleasure.
Thank you
Great
for having
meeting
us.
you.
Yes,
Great
thank
talking
you.
with
Thank you.
And that's it for this week on the feed. We'll see you next week.
Bye,
Bye,
community.
community.
Local news, politics, business, sports, Arts Music.